Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Super Gaming Minute, the channel dedicated to all things Nintendo and gaming. Before I get into everything, I wanted to take a quick minute and thank everyone who watched and commented and gave feedback on my last video. Since I've only been on YouTube for a couple of months, I've only released a small handful of videos. The video I released last week on my list of rareware games from worst to best on the N64 got the most views and likes to date. It even gave me a handful of brand new subscribers, and I'm so grateful for that, so thank you guys so much. Now if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link to it right here. Alright guys, so today I wanted to go over my list of hidden gems on the NES. As you guys probably know by now, I'm a huge fan of Nintendo. It's the console that I spent the most time with and the one that I've made the most cherished memories with. And in doing so, I've obviously spent a lot of my time playing Nintendo consoles. Especially the NES. It was my first console and also the first console that I fell in love with. Playing games such as Fester's Quest and Adventure Island with my mom, to playing ice hockey with my dad and witnessing him be the only person in the household to beat Super Mario Brothers. It was a great time. I've spent even more time playing these games with friends back on the system in the early 90s. Friends that I'm proud to say are still in my life today, and I like to believe that it's our love of video games that has helped us stay so close and connected throughout the years. Spending that much time playing the NES, I've definitely come across my fair share of games that I would call hidden gems. But let's face it, different games appeal to different people. Although this is a list of my favorite hidden gems, that I definitely encourage you to try by the way, you might not feel the same way. So I invite you to share your list of hidden gems with the rest of us in the comments down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. As I mentioned to you guys in every video, I release something new every week, and I try to do it every Monday. So subscribing will be the best way to ensure that you're up to date with the latest content. Now this is not a ranking list. They aren't in any order from worst to best or anything like that. It's just a list of games that I feel are underappreciated and should get a little love. And without further ado, here's my list of hidden gems on the NES. Number 1. B-52. Alright, this is a game that I remember so fondly that my mother would always play. It's a very simple premise. You go out and you pollinate flowers and avoid hazards such as ants, grasshoppers, Venus flytraps, and sprinklers. Once you've collected enough pollen, you then backtrack to your hive and drop off the pollen and fill your honey jar. Again, a very simple concept with an extremely addictive gameplay. There are 12 levels, 4 of which are played in a backyard. The next 4 take place at a swamp, and the final 4 levels are inside of a house. The bee's flight is controlled by moving the D-pad up and down, and moves side to side by pressing the left and right directional buttons. The bee can shoot projectiles from its mouth, or he can use his stinger to attack enemies from above. This is a great game, and I've definitely spent a ton of time playing it. If you can track it down, give it a shot. It's a great game. Number 2, Anticipation. So, this is a title that I have previously overlooked. If you look at the cover art of the game, it looks bad. But don't let that fool you, as it did me. The only reason I played the game, and it was fairly recent, maybe 2 years or so ago was the first time I played through it, was because my girlfriend wanted to give it a shot. The game is an interactive board game where you answer questions in different categories and make your way up the ladder to complete different categories in each level of the board game. I hope that makes sense. Basically, the person who answers a certain amount of correctly in each category wins the game. It's basically Pictionary crossed with Jeopardy, but without Alex Trebek. Shout out to the GOAT, Alex Trebek, by the way. God rest his soul. The main thing to take away is this. If you like competitive, fast-paced game show / board games, this one is definitely a must-play. Number 3, Monster in My Pocket. Okay, this one isn't just a hidden gem. It might be one of my favorite games of all time. The memories I have playing through this game cooperatively with my friends are memories that I will cherish forever. I must have played through this game 100 times and it still doesn't get old. The characters and the villains are all interesting and look well on the NES. And the side-scrolling beat-em-up style of gameplay is a real treat. The game itself is based on the media franchise of the same name, created by a couple of former executives at Mattel Toys. Although the franchise spawned more than just a great video game, there were toys, comic books, movies, trading cards, board games, heck, you name it. The game starts with the vampire and Frankenstein's monsters sitting around watching TV. Classic. While they're relaxing, trying to get some much needed R&R, Warlock, the main baddie, infiltrates their TV a la Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and decides that he wants to shrink all the monsters down to pocket size. If you're looking for a great beat 'em up style game with tight controls and great visuals, give this one a go. Oh, and little known fact, the Asian release of this game is actually titled Batman and Flash. It's basically a ROM hack reskinned as a DC game. It's hilarious. Number 4. Marble Madness. Published by Atari Games for the NES, Marble Madness is a platformer with puzzle elements. The concept is simple. Guide your marble through all 6 of these top-down isometric courses without falling off the edges or succumbing to any of the many hazards. It's easy to learn, but it's hard to master, especially since each course has a time limit. Marble Madness was known for using innovative game technologies. It was the first game to use the Atari System 1 hardware, the first to be programmed in the C programming language, and one of the first to use true stereo sound. By the way, I stole that from Wikipedia. Critics praised the game's difficulty, unique visual design, and stereo soundtrack. The game was ported to numerous platforms and inspired the development of other games. A sequel was developed and planned for release in 1991, but cancelled when location testing showed that the game could not succeed in competition with other titles. Number 5. McKids. Alright, so yes, the game is basically an advertisement for McDonald's, which is why as a kid, I freaking loved it. Okay, so I think we've all seen the episode of Angry Video Game Nerd where he tore this game apart. But honestly, I love this game. The platforming is solid. Yes, there's some frustratingly hard parts, but the fact that they added in crazy elements like low gravity, walking on walls and ceilings, and with a fully fleshed out interactive map and story, the game is honestly impressive. If you think about video games from back in this era, there were franchises that literally just made games for monetary gain. Just look at anything by LJN. If it tied in with a movie or anything else that could be considered a cash grab, it was usually half-assed, rushed, and full of confusing plot lines. But not this game. Now, you can obviously tell that they were going for a Super Mario Bros. 3 aesthetic, but they obviously put a lot of time and effort into this one. Now, after watching AVGN and him giving his thoughts on the game, I wanted to try it out again and see if possibly it was just nostalgia playing a huge part in my love for this game, but it turns out it was really a lot of fun to go through, especially since the developers had included different ways to complete some of the levels. There is definitely a sense of replayability with this. Have you played this one before? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments down below. Number 6, Crashing the Boys Street Challenge. Released in 1992, this game follows Todd, who has had enough of the losses his team has endured, to Jeff Crash Cooney and the Southside team. Sponsored by Todd's wealthy father, he issues a challenge to Crash and the Boys, and invites 2 other teams to compete in the violent track and field event for all the glory. Being a multi-sport track and field style title with, again, violent undertones, there are many different events to play through, such as the 400-meter hurdles, where you can throw broken pieces of wood at your opponents to slow them down. Hammer golf, which is basically hammer throw tied in with golf, and it's amazingly fun. Swimming, where you literally attempt to drown your opponent. Rooftop jumping, where you could literally fall to your death. And the final fight scene, which is it's a fight scene, and it's rad. Be warned though, the game is so much more fun with another player, and the AI has a huge advantage over the players in every event. It's actually unfair, but still a ton of fun to play through each event. I wasn't sure if I should include this one or not because it wasn't completely sure if it was a true hidden gem. Let me know if you played this one and what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. Number 7, Snake, Rattle, and Roll. Developed by Rare and published by Nintendo in 1990, this isometric top-down platformer features 2 snakes, Rattle, and that's right, you guessed it, Peter. Just kidding, his name's Roll, just like in the title. The object of the game is to go through each level and swallow all the nibbly pibblies, which will then become a part of your tail. When you eat enough of the nibbly pibblies, you will then ring a way bell located somewhere in the level. While you're collecting these nibbly pibblies, you will be attacked by a plethora of baddies, such as Bigfoot, which is literally just a huge foot that stomps you flat, Magic carpets, bombs, a bunch of other random things that are trying to keep you from reaching the next level. The game was also released for the Sega Mega Drive in 1993, giving the game an updated 16-bit look. If you'd like to give this game a shot, it was included in the Rare Replay game for the Xbox and is currently on Xbox Game Pass as well, so it's fairly easy to get your hands on. Number 8. Bad News Baseball. Bad News Baseball features 12 teams, with made-up rosters. The game plays a lot like RBI Baseball, but with a less serious, cartoony take on itself. As an example, the umpires are rabbits, and the players can get knocked out by the ball if it hits them in the head, or even if a player catches a pop fly. It's hilarious, really. The game lacks a traditional season mode, and plays like a round-robin style instead. In order to win, you must defeat all 11 other teams. Not only is this game challenging, but its lighthearted take on the sport and funny animations are enough to keep me coming back again and again. With the ability to choose between boys teams or girls teams, 11 different pitching styles, and beautifully colorful cutscenes and animations, the game shines and is a truly fun baseball game that can be enjoyed by all genders and all ages. Number 9. Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blowout. In celebration of Bugs Bunny's 50th birthday, Warner Bros. And game developer Kemco created Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blowout, which is again another game featured on AVGN and another platformer that I believe doesn't get the credit and recognition that it deserves. The plot is pretty silly and a little strange, but it's basically like this. It's Bugs' 50th birthday, and it turns out a lot of his friends weren't invited for, some reason, and they're trying to keep Bugs from attending his own birthday by blowing him up and killing him, which honestly isn't actually that hard to imagine. Now, the game isn't as bright and beautiful as some of the other games on this list, and the platforming can be a little frustrating at some stages. But I feel as though the level design is pretty good, although a little generic. All of the end-level bosses are all Warner Brothers characters from the Bugs Bunny universe. Unfortunately, the enemies throughout each level don't seem to fit in with the rest of the Bugs Bunny universe. If you're a fan of Bugs Bunny and like a good platformer, give this one a try. And although it might not be the world's best platformer, it's still a lot of fun and worth putting in a few hours. Number 10. Felix the Cat. Based on the 1919 franchise that started its life as a silent film and blew up into the phenom that it was, spanning generations of cartoons, clothing, comic books, and a bunch of other things, the Felix the Cat video game for NES developed by Hudson Soft is an extremely underappreciated platformer on the console, especially when you go back and look at all the positive reviews for the game. I was absolutely blown away the first time I picked this game up in my local rental store. It's a simple side-scrolling 2D platformer, a lot like Mario Brothers, but instead of jumping on your opponent's heads, you use Felix's upgradable bag of tricks. That uses power-ups such as a spring-loaded boxing glove and, well, a mini-tank. Yep, mini-tank. Epic. In short, the game is great. Tight controls, interesting characters and plot, great power-ups, and awesome, although a little easy, level design. Try this one, please. It's great and very, very underappreciated. Number 11. Bucky OHara. Does anybody remember the cartoon of the same name? I thought it was awesome. It was around the same time when everyone was obsessed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it seemed like almost every week there was a TMNT clone, like, for instance, Street Sharks, Biker Mice from Mars, Battletoads, Samurai Pizza Cats, Mummies Alive, and of course Bucky OHara. All those at the top of my head, by the way. Bucky OHara was one of the good ones though, and although it only lasted for 1 or 2 seasons, it was a pretty good show, and it happened to spawn an even better video game. The game starts off with the Space Toads kidnapping each one of Bucky's crew and placing them all on different planets. Your objective is to rescue each one of your crew and face the Toads on their spaceship. The game brings in a lot of variety, and each character that you save has a different ability, such as Deadeye Duck's blaster shooting 3 bullets at a time, Bucky can jump the highest, and Blinky is able to fly using his jetpack. The game's level design is phenomenal, with each planet having its own theme, and may even require a special ability from one of your rescue crewmates to get through or unlock secrets within the level. The controls for the game are tight and responsive, and the music is fantastic. I know I mentioned this list isn't in order from worst to best or anything, but there is definitely a reason why I put this one at the bottom. It's not only an underrated game, it's also my top 3 games of all time. please, if you're gonna try one of the games on this list, try this one. It's worth the price tag if you can find it. Alright guys, that's it. That is my list of hidden gems on the NES. Thank you so much for staying all the way to the end of this video. Again, I love making YouTube videos, and I'm excited every time I get a new subscriber or every time I get a new like or a view on a video. So please help me. If you like this video, share it around with your friends. Like it, subscribe, and comment down below. I'm doing everything I can to make this channel grow, but I need all of your support to make that happen. Let's see just how fast we can hit 1,000 subscribers. Thanks again, guys, for all your support. I truly appreciate it. Keep on gaming.